Parental fatigue, burnout. If you're feeling this, we get it. But there's one thing we use when we're feeling depleted. It's called Rehydrate. Delicious electrolytes that increase blood flow to your brain, organs, and nervous system, boosting your energy without anything nasty. Magic.
Next time you're feeling flat, give Rehydrate a go. Available at Coles.
It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
We seem to let a lot of things fly in our house that we would never accept anywhere else.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Yeah, hello. This is Dr. Justin Coulson, the author of 6 books about making our families happy. I'm here with my wife, mum to our 6 kids, Kylie, my podcast partner and co-host.
We just love getting feedback, and we've had some really great feedback come in lately.
5-star review, Apple Podcasts. So simple to write those reviews. Thank you so much for sending them through.
We've had some great feedback from AMC01, who says, great parenting tips for busy people. I have only just discovered this podcast, but have loved all the episodes I've listened to so far. I love that the episodes are so short. I can listen to a whole episode without being interrupted and then apply the tips straight away to my parenting life.
As soon as they come over and realise you're listening, and they could interrupt you, but you've already finished. Isn't that great? We love those 5-star reviews. Thank you very much. A.Mc01. Please send in your feedback to podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au, or better yet, jump onto Apple Podcasts and tell us what you think. Tell everyone what you think so that other people can find the podcast. A big topic today because we've got a webinar tonight. If you're a Happy Families member, this webinar is included in your membership. We do one every single month guaranteed that's included in the membership. And this one, we've had so many requests. Basically, how do we get the kids to get along and actually be kind to each other? Not just how do we stop them fighting, but how do we get them to actually like each other?
This is so tricky. Have we got any answers for this one?
We have 6 kids who give us lots of opportunities to try different experiments on how to make this work. Did you fight with so you're the eldest of 3 girls, at least within your nuclear family, because you had a half-sister as well. Did you fight with your little sisters?
Oh, look, this strikes a really sensitive chord with me because I probably was just an awful big sister. I have so many regrets when I think back to how I treated them.
Really?
Yes.
What did you do?
Oh, look, they just drove me crazy. They just wanted to be in my space all the time. They wouldn't leave me alone. They wanted to touch my stuff. They breathed my air.
So
they looked at me the wrong way. Like So
pretty much everything.
Everything.
Yeah,
I'm a very independent person, and I really struggled having a tag along with me all the time.
The fact that they existed was annoying enough.
Yeah, it probably was.
There's 3 years between you and your next sister?
There is.
And then how many between her and your little sister?
Another 3 years.
Okay, so it's pretty, and it's almost exactly 3 years for each. Yeah. Okay. So I was the worst big brother. I'm the eldest of 6 kids myself. You know this, but for people who are not familiar with me and the podcast, there's me. Then I've got twin sisters, 4 years younger than me. Then I've got a little brother who is 9 years younger than me. And then I've got twin sisters again who are 15 years younger than me. So mum and dad had boy, twin girls, 4, 5, and 6 years apart or something crazy like that. And I don't really know my littlest sisters that well. There's 15 years between us and I'd moved out. But, man, I was terrible to my twin sisters that are 4 years younger. Like I was just not a very nice big brother. And the research tells us that this is sad but true. In fact, I came across some research, some observational data that indicates that children fight with their siblings up to 8 times per hour.
Holy smokes.
So you do the maths on that. There's 60 minutes an hour.
So I have 6 children in the house. Let's do the maths there. Oh, my head's hurting.
Yeah. And so when parents are saying, oh, the kids are just always fighting, they're always scrapping, there's always so much rivalry going on, it's just over the top. My best research, though, comes from our own children, and I've discovered that nothing ignites sibling rivalry quite like buttons on an elevator.
There have been plenty rides in the elevator where we've actually stopped at unnecessary floors just to appease.
They just get in the button and they're like, I want to push that one. Well, you can't. Well, they actually open the door. Remember that time we got into the elevator and one of the kids wanted to close the elevator door and the other one wanted to do it as well. And so one of them held it open while the other one was trying to. This is our life, folks. This is what we deal with. I reckon that most of the time parents are not equipped. In fact, I'm sort of saying that jokingly, but when I looked through the research preparing for tonight's webinar on how to teach our kids to get along and to be kind to each other, what the research showed pretty clearly is that parents need a skill set that we don't. You can't buy this skill set. You
need a PhD in kindness?
Well, no, but you do need social skills. You do need conflict management skills. You do need empathy. You do need the ability to take another person's perspective even when you're cranky. You do need excellent verbal skills. You do need to be in control of yourself and have that self-control. Like that's a big list of stuff that you've got to be able to do while you're trying to look after dinner, work out who's supposed to be at swimming in 20 minutes and find the flippers and the goggles and whatever else they've lost and deal with this sibling conflict all at the same time. There's so much going on. But as hard as it is to find good solutions, my research has led me to some, and that's what tonight is all about. After the break, I want to give you a bit of a hint about what some of those solutions that I found were.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
For a happier family, try a Happy Families membership, because a happy family doesn't just happen. Details at happyfamilies.com.au.
I'm always looking for new ways to stay connected with my children while giving them the opportunity to have the same level of freedom I enjoyed when I was their age.
Oh, those were the days. The Space Talk Adventurer Watch has given our daughter the freedom that she craves while also giving us the peace of mind of knowing where she is via GPS location updates. And we can also easily check in with her via a phone call or a text message to her watch.
Space Talk watches don't have access to social media, apps, or any other internet services like mobile phones do. So you can feel good that you're providing them with a safe and secure device that lets kids be kids in a modern world.
And that's why we love it. Available at major retailers and online at spacetalkwatch.com.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we've been talking about the bane of parents' lives, sibling rivalry. This is just at the core, I think, of most contention in anybody's home.
It's agonising. I remember one time one of the kids was fighting with her sister and I said to her, you really need to apologise to your sister for what you've done. And she looked at me with this almost hatred in her eyes. She was like,
Devil eyes.
You told me not to lie. I was like, oh, gosh, say you're sorry, but don't lie. In fact, that was the moment when I realized that forcing your children to apologize was actually a pretty lousy parenting technique. And there's a real secret to apologies, which I'll talk about tonight. But when I was looking through all of the very best research and all of the very best articles that I could find on this sibling rivalry thing, what I discovered is that the empirical research and even the experts that are out there don't have a lot to say on it because it's just such a hard challenge. But what I also saw was we seem to let a lot of things fly in our house that we would never accept anywhere else. If kids treated each other in the classroom the way they treat each other at home, they'd be on detention. They'd be writing out lines. There'd be letters getting sent home to parents. There'd be all sorts of stuff going on. But in the home, we seem to let this stuff happen. And I've kind of got this feeling that if it's not okay, if we want our children to learn how to have empathy and resolve conflict and do things well at school or in public or down at the local park when they're, one kid's going up the slide and the other one wants to go down the slide, we need to teach them that at home. It actually has to start at home.
What's amazing to me is that most children can function under those circumstances in that when they're at school, they just know that there's a code of conduct and they accept that code of conduct. And then they come home and it's like that code of conduct goes out the window.
Yeah.
A recent New York Times article specifically on sibling rivalry gave us a couple of suggestions about how we can actually resolve this whole sibling rivalry. But
I didn't buy it. I was upset with the article. I got cranky. I didn't think that was a good article.
Yeah. So their first tip was to resolve by turn taking.
Yeah. In other words, when the children are upset with each other and they're having a fight with one another, sit down and be the mediator between them and say, okay, you tell me what happened. Now you tell me what happened, and get them to take it in turns. So, I mean, you've been a parent for 20-something years now. Can you see anything wrong with that advice?
I don't even need to be a parent. I actually had an opportunity to do this as an adult, and it actually just fueled the fire because each person seems completely justified in the way they feel about something and the way they feel mistreated. And so while ever we're just, wanting to share our side of the equation, there's no understanding, there's no empathy being able to be offered. We don't see each other's side of the story because we're so busy telling our own.
What happens is I'm sitting here waiting for you to finish talking so that I can tell you all the reasons you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't actually listen to you. And like you said, there's no empathy. What I think they should have said instead of getting the kids to resolve this issue by turn taking is, take it in turns, but do it exactly the opposite way to what you've said. Instead of saying what happened to you, why you're feeling upset, say to child number one, your sister seems really upset. Why don't you tell me why she's upset?
So this is real perspective taking.
Exactly. Let's stand in her shoes. Wow. And then you look at that little sister or that big brother, whoever it was, and say, is that a good restatement of why you're feeling so upset and why this went badly? And they're going to say, yes, it is. And you can say, well, your sister or your brother seems upset. Maybe you can tell me why they feel the way they do. And what happens then is the kids get out of what I call bed, blame, excuse, and denial. And they start using their or, that is their ownership, their accountability, their responsibility. They have to take responsibility for the part that they've played in the conflict that they're now experiencing. So when you say, why is your sister feeling that way? Really? They've got to say, yeah, because I yelled at her but I only did it because, I just want to know why you think they're feeling that way. It's a really powerful, really striking way to resolve that turn-taking issue. So that was the first one that I didn't like from the New York Times, and I think that there's a better way to do it.
So the next one they said was to actually praise in public but punish in private.
What awful advice. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, let's say we go with the praising in public. So we see the kids doing something we really like and we praise them for it. Now, we've got that amazing interview that we did with Alfie Cohn a couple of months ago that we'll put in the show notes about why we don't want to be praising our kids. I've got a webinar about why we don't want to be doing that in the Happy Families membership. But imagine you're out with your sister and you hear your mum or your dad call out and say, I really love how you let your sister go first. So as the big sister who just got the praise, how are you feeling?
Oh, standing tall.
Yeah,
this
right.
Is awesome.
And if you're the little sister who hears big sister getting praised for doing that, how are you feeling?
Well, I'm kind of wondering why you haven't said anything nice about me because I was really nice to her a minute ago, but you didn't see that.
Yeah, so verbal rewards actually can sometimes put our children in competition with each other. There's a whole lot of other reasons that I think that it's concerning, and we don't have time for that in this conversation, but I just think it's lousy. The other part of this is, praise in public and punish in private. Where do we get this crazy idea that punishing our children is going to help them to be better? Like the research shows when you make children feel bad about things, that doesn't help them to be good. When you make your children feel lousy about life, that's hardly going to set them up to be successful.
Can I play devil's advocate at the minute?
I think the devil has enough advocates, but if you want to give me an alternative view, I'm fine with that.
I obviously am not the person who wrote this, but I'm wondering if what they're actually trying to suggest is that when we have an altercation with our child, the last thing we want to do is reprimand them or challenge them or anything when they're surrounded by other people.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
never, ever do any kind of disciplining in front of a crowd.
Yeah. So while the words say punish in private, I think we can take some really great advice from that if we kind of look at a bigger picture, in that if my child needs some attention because they're doing something that's wrong, me trying to correct that behaviour in front of everyone is going to be more damaging than not correcting it at the moment. And so taking us away from the situation is really important. But it's not necessarily about doing it in private. It's about picking your time so that you can have that one-on-one space with your child.
Yeah, timing's really important when it comes to discipline, and especially when it comes to sibling rivalry. I mean, the reality is if emotions are really high, your intelligence is going to be pretty low. You're not going to resolve things in the rational, effective way that you might otherwise. So timing is everything, whether it's in public or whether everyone's emotional. You've got to work through that. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more tonight in the webinar. It's called Teaching Kids Kindness. You can get all the information on happyfamilies.com.au. Just go to the shop, or you can visit our Facebook page. That's Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families. Do you remember that time when everything was really quiet. And we went up to one of the kids and said, hey, where's your sister? And she said, playing hide and seek. Who with? Me. You don't seem to be looking for them. No, I'm not. And she just let her sister go off to hide and seek. And every now and again she'd yell out, I'm still looking for you, make a noise. And one of her sisters would go, ah.
I don't remember that, but I wouldn't put it past any of them.
She was like, oh, don't worry, I'll find her once my chapter's finished.
Well, that's a good way to get some peace and quiet.
We really hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'd love for you to join us on the webinar tonight. Happy Families members, it's yours as part of the membership. If you're not a member, you can find out more information at happyfamilies.com.au. The take-home message, real quick. Let's go over it. What do we learn about sibling rivalry from this if you can't make the webinar? And by the way, it is being recorded so you can watch the replay. But take-home message.
The number one for me is perspective taking, encouraging our kids to take someone else's perspective.
And for me, I reckon it's that as parents, we're really ill-equipped for this. So we've got to be really thoughtful. We've got to be really intentional about making sure that our conversations with our children are constructive and helpful. We really hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Thanks so much for listening. If you do, please leave those ratings and reviews. 5 stars is always good at Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that. We also appreciate Justin Rulon from Bridge Media for doing a great job in making the podcast sound fabulous. And our executive producer, as always, is Craig Bruce. If you'd like more info about how we can make your family happier, please visit happyfamilies.com.au.